All right, welcome. This is a cast coming out of the Alpha Navigators Cup weekly tournament, number 18, I believe. And this tournament has opens with Swiss format with a round robin. And so this is just the best of one between our blue Infernal here, AM Theory, and our red Infernal here, Tozis. And haven't actually seen or cast a Tozis game yet, but I have seen his name up on the ladder. So he's pretty high up there. And so let's see what we're going to get here. He's already doing the kind of creep trick that is kind of popular on the Shadow Mastiffs. A little harder now that they've been buffed. Takes a little bit longer. But of course, there is Theory's Hexen also up here in the base, trying to get a little bit of harass on. Messing with that imp. Not quite as annoying as a dog harass, but you can still sort of delay that expansion timing, for instance, if you get that positioning, or maybe harass it a little bit, chase it away if it's going out onto the map to maybe build a farm. But we've got a couple gaunts out of theory. So the conclave opening leading to some gaunt creeping, which can be a little bit easier to creep, especially on these Shadow Mastiffs. They're just a little bit easier to micro because they're a little bit faster. And especially as Theory is showcasing right now, he's got some really good micro and was able to basically keep them all alive. Not just alive, but keep them with pretty good health on them. He's sending one of the low ones to go eat that cabbage. Again, good micro. While he's running across the map to go see what Tozis is doing, saying, why haven't you taken your speed cap yet? Of course he is. Just about to, but these fiends get right on top of that brute and kill the brute, and now they're on top of the Hexen, and the Hexen's trying to dance her way out of there, but unfortunately not fast enough and goes down. Now, that's bad news for Tozis, who's only got a brute and two fiends at home, hoping some fell hogs are going to spawn on that farm nice and quick, because here are a bunch of gaunts. Gaunts and two fiends against two brutes, and a couple more gaunts showing up. One of those fell hogs immediately taken care of. And now we got focus fire on the farm. Not only going to supply block, but take out those static D that spawn. The brute's trying to protect the farm. The farm's very low, but still alive. The brutes come out, but one brute goes down to a skull, and now the farm is going down. Now it's the shrine that's under attack. Got 8 gaunts here now. That's a hard and that's a GG out of Tozis. All right, here we are in the second round robin game starring Theory. Theory here spawning in the red Infernal in the bottom left of Titan's Causeway. And his opponent in this game is going to be High, or HYY, spawning in the blue Celestial, all up in the top right, going for a fast collection array with the Morph Core, which just seems to be the way to go. It boosts that income right away. It's faster than building prisms. You could build prisms out of your arc ship, but by using that first morph core to get the collection array, it's immediately giving you the production of 4 prisms once it spawns up. And of course, the other alternative you have for that morph core is to build a creation chamber, and if you do that, you really don't have the income yet built up to really fully produce Argent. So I think a real fast creation chamber at the beginning there just doesn't seem like it's as strategic as going for that collection array. Of course, another benefit of going for the collection array is that you can use your Sovereign's Watch only within a certain range of that collection array, and that allows this early creeping for the Celestial that, again, you wouldn't necessarily be able to creep this whole camp by the 1 minute 36 mark, for instance, if you were just pumping out an Argent or 2. You probably need 3 or 4 before you can do a good job on that camp. Meanwhile, Theory back home has taken out his health cap as well, put down his shrine, and is on a single vault. So this is just a sort of an econ opening where he's just going to use these sort of cheap brutes and fiends to do his creeping, earn more luminite while putting out a shrine. We do see that a imp has come and knocked down the trees. That's probably in preparation for future creeping. But taking out this health camp, or this speed camp, sorry. One last Shadow Mastiff in a duel with the Hexen. Hexen's going to win with that Her Fiend buddy. And then capturing the speed camp, soaking in its speedy juices, and getting ready to zip across the map. Yeah, zip-a-dip-a-dip-a-doo. Oh, this imp is just lumberjack imp. Cutting down all the trees, opening up all the attack paths right away. And now we got Fiends and Brutes right on top of this collection array. Real nice anticipation out of Theory to realize that there's likely a third going down up here. We got a Sovereign's Watch chasing them away, as well as some Argents coming up. And then the Sovereign's Watch aggroes the Shadow Demons, which is maybe not what was planned. And the Argents have to run up the hill and do some creeping. And then the Brutes and Fiends get back over here. And Sovereign's Watch was recently changed. Let's call it a buff or fixed. So that it focuses on enemy units over creeps. Which is typically the behavior that you want. But we got some Fiends running into the main base here, being extra annoying. We've already got one collection array that had to lift up. And now we have another one that's under attack, but the Argent's coming back, hopefully going to take it down before... Yeah, so it doesn't have to delay its mining at all. But this one still, unfortunately, has not been able to set back down. And this army is now getting chased down, and those Argent... oh, the Argents managed to get a focus fire, kind of a little kind of surround, if you will, or flank on the Hexen. Those poor Argents there were derping. They were just derping on that tree. They were sitting there writing a little letter to Frost Giant saying, "While I sit under this tree, can you fix my pathing?" And again, right back in those speedy juices. It's a great place to hang out, especially if you're a brute, because you're kind of slow. The Sergeant wants to come and join the party, but the brutes are like, "No, this is brute only. Get out of here." And the Argent's like, "All right, I'm out. I'm out." Oh, but turn to fight. Which is usually a good thing to do, but I think Argents can outrun brutes, even speedy brutes. I haven't tested that out, but that's what my heart says. And these three brutes are just trying to get a kill on this, but the Argents come in, and with their bonus damage versus heavy, are just going to melt the brutes. Melty, melty, melt. Last one goes down. The Fiends trying to run away. These ones not. They're just going to stay and fight, which also is a good way to just distract the Argents while maybe you're trying to run away other units. And now they're going to fight over the speed camp. These brutes coming forward, not super great by themselves, especially in a small number like that against the Argents. And now it's the Argents with the speedy juices running up the hill. Getting some concave, but only doing a single attack before running back to the speed camp. The effigy now going down, okay. And right back in the speed camp. Willing to fight off against these brutes. Some more Fiends get sacrificed into the Argent's guns. And this base is getting up and being protected, I guess, by these brutes. These imps transferring. Another brute getting taken out. And then the effigy going down too. Good use of these Argents to just sort of pick away at Theory's troops so that they cannot get big enough to do any real damage and threaten this position. Keep returning back to the speed camp every time they go back there. They reinitialize that speed buff, and we saw as that brute died that now 3 Fiends are popping out. That means there's brute upgrades on the board. At least the Soulforge Ascendants. But again, every time they move forward there, the Argents are taking a brute down, and the brutes are basically not getting the same kind of payback. They're not depleting the Argent forces. So Theory's units there, while defending this base, are sort of fighting a losing battle. Again, recharged up here. I think there must have been a Purify that went down. And that means they got to do extra damage, and there's kind of enough fiends here that the fiends are starting to tank a little bit. So at least, and now we have a Hellborn there. At least it was good for Theory to keep those fiends alive instead of just continually sacrificing them into the Argents. And now we see them kind of tanking those initial blasts, which just allows these brutes to stay alive. The speed camp respawns, which means there's sort of a lull in the action here as High tries to take out the speed camp, and it looks like Theory's going to try and position his army in the speed zone so that he can capture the camp, not let High, although he just sends a single brute. That might not be enough. Yeah, chase them away, capture the camp, and now it's Theory with the speed boost. Speed boost on a Hellborn. Wish that made them fire faster. And we got splits on all of the fiends, and they're going to run in there, and it's kind of a nice little plug there that the Argents have put, meaning that the surface area of the fiends was really not enough. One of the sabers goes down, but that brute is overextended. Both brutes are caught behind the Argent ball now. They're trying to catch these Hellborn. The Hellborn turn to fire another fireball back. That's a nice one. A lot of those Argents are low. And a couple fiends just hoping if they can get one more. One fiend running away. One fiend surviving. There's not much going on in this army from Theory. I don't know if I'd be pushing out with a single brute to guard my double Hellborns here. Although what has he got? Nothing in the Harbinger. So having managed to push High away, Theory now needs to rebuild his forces, although he's been going for more shrines. He also has another shrine up here. High has... My Therium disappeared. It is gone. Oh. In fact, I heard about this before. Nah, I love the competence here. Theory's just like... the most important resource for my faction. It's alright. It's all good. I got this double one down here and I just put down a bunch of Shroud Stones and you haven't even scouted it yet. I'm good. I gotcha. I wonder if he was losing, if he'd be like, yeah. But that's a bug. I noticed that he did report it on the Discord, so we don't need to report that. But that is an interesting bug. His Therium just disappeared. It would be funny if he actually just mined it out and he's like, oh my god, bug. But yeah, the actual node disappeared. Now this is one kind of awful part about playing Infernal versus Celestial on this map. Sabers can just nuke your base from the high ground there. Really hard to attack up there. And in the mid game to late game, if you are a Celestial, try and take that position. Of course, if you are playing a Vanguard or an Infernal, this is not the best base to take necessarily. Maybe if you take it early on and you can mine it out, but you can be sieged pretty easily from the high ground. Now, even if you are a Celestial, you can get sieged from the high ground if you're mining this one. Anyone can get up on this high ground pretty easily. So yeah, High is taking that middle of the map, trying to keep that advantage, while also trying to defend against the Hellborns that are doing double duty up here. They are harass units down on that low ground position, while also defending against this Therium mine, which is probably the most important part of Theory's base right now. He's got Therium over here still, but that one will mine out sooner, and if you're full mining it, he's got 7 workers on it, actually 3 workers on it now. He's undermining it, which will keep it alive a little bit longer. This base not quite up yet, so there's still long distance mining. And I think High needs to try and knock down some of these bases of Theory while doing good harass on this one. Theory's starting to get a nice base lead. High is now got a Morph Core here looking to expand up here. But Theory's been mining this base for a long time, remember. They were fighting over that right at the beginning of the match. And from High, We do have a pretty good mid to late game comp on there. The size added as well. So we've got size, we got sabers, we got Argents for the bulk, and we have Animancers in there as well to provide some of those dark prophecies. But Theory has now added a 12th minute dragon, which maybe that's why we haven't been seeing so many other units out of him. He's been sort of saving up and trying to get the Animus to get an early dragon, a fairly early dragon. And now the dragons, now we got an engagement. The dragon's trying to harass, but again, while those Argents are in the choke, they can hold back, but there is the damage over time coming from the Hellborns. That's that Molten Touch. Most of these units are kind of on fire, but the Sabers are just doing a good job to help do some serious DPS and clean up most of those brutes. And Theory's moving back after taking out the collection array. We've still got the Harbinger on the high ground. We've got some permanent shroud all over the place now. This is a really great move, and I noticed that Theory is one of the better ones at doing this. Getting a Harbinger out, well, maybe not losing your Harbinger, but getting a Harbinger out to drop down, put that initial shroud, and then dropping effigies. And once you have those effigies, you can drop more effigies, and you can start getting a shroud presence on the map. It's very useful for vision, but it's also useful again to regen your shroud skin or to get your weavers. And there we have our weavers get a little bit of a speed boost. As we see these weavers hit the shroud, they're going to go zippity doo dah. Look at me, I'm fast, I can catch up to the other units now. Bunch of shadow flyers on the lead, getting caught in a dark prophecy. You don't see that as much, the dark prophecy going down on the air units, but being just as effective. We got another saber being pulled in. Dark Prophecy's trying to zone, but the Weavers have already moved through. The Gaunts are just standing in it, and they're going to get melted. They are done. But Hellborn in the back, trying to rain down fireballs. They've done a great job with that Molten Touch. But even when you destroy the ground army, like we see here, Hellborn cannot shoot up. And all those Gaunts going down to the Dark Prophecies means there's no anti-air to protect against this. They're standing right inside the Wraithstone and the Shroud Stones and decide to retreat after taking out some of those Hellborn. This Weaver caught out of position. A few Fiends as well. What do we have here? Fiend run by now. Where are they headed? Probably up here? No? Yes? Maybe? Unsure? These ones are going here. Oh, they were just taking the long way around. Sarvin's Watch going down to try and deal with the Fiends. And is there going to be enough Fiends? It looks like the Sarvin's Watch might be able to clean this up. And sure enough, it does. And we're slowly getting this army of High built right back up. But Theory is also building up his army again. This is a very common conflict area for late game Titan's Causeway, which is both players are usually fighting over these double Therium nodes. We see Theory has actually gone and claimed the other double Therium node on the other side, which is actually bad news for High. It means High's going to have trouble getting that late game Therium, and it means that Theory will. Now again, Dark Prophecy, a very good Dark Prophecy, melting some Gaunts. These Fiends are definitely going to be able to take care of these Argents, but there's enough size up on flying above that these Gaunts are just not going to be... the Gaunt, oh, that one Gaunt decides to run away. And these Fiends just trying to get as much damage in as they can. Yeah, a few of them retreating, while more Gaunts being added to... And that's a GG out of High. Alright, in the third game of his round robin, this is Aftermath's Theory in the Red Infernal. And in the Blue Vanguard, we have his opponent is Brave, who I believe is a Korean player. I think I saw him talking on a Twitch chat, and I've seen a few of his games, and I like his style. He's got a nice style. He's already in the base harassing. Of course, he's going for the Hexen, and there's lots of different things you can do with that early dog, and I like to see the different ways that players choose to do that. Do you go and harass this imp, for instance? Do you try and block the Expo? It looks like that's what he wants to do. But the Hexen's going to chase him away. Or do you, block the supply depot that often goes out on the map? In this case, sorry, a meat farm, which we see being put down there. I thought that might have been an Expo, and maybe Theory changed his mind. Instead of going for the Expo, he maybe decided, I'm going to put the meat farm down instead because it was scouted by Brave, and Brave might respond to that by doing some early aggression. Now, Brave has gone for racks first instead of trying to go for early expansion. And what do we have coming out there? We got a Lancer coming out. This dog, again, back to being harassing. And I think the really strong Vanguard players do this. Try to get last kills. They, in that case, did a little extra damage on that Brute to make it go down. Although it was split by Theory. You could tell by the Shroud skin on those Fiends. And Theory actually dedicating some of his DPS and some of his Skull of Shedda to the dog. Hitting the dog with the Skull of Shedda, which meant he had vision for a while he watched the dog run away. And then trying to get the dog with his Fiends. And the dog now has got one of those healing cabbages, finds the Hexen again, and again, Brave is just trying to focus that Hexen. And we see Brave just relentless. This could be really annoying if you're an Infernal player, but it's also, not worth really responding to that much, because the dog, especially after the nerf, does not quite do as much damage, and as long as you're sort of watching your Hexen and not letting him just focus her down. But again, this dog's just like, I'm going to chase you to every point of the map that you want. A nice surround. That's perfect from Theory. It looked like his Hexen was just trying to run away, get away from the dog, and the dog was trying to corner the Hexen, but really it was the Fiends that were there to get the surround on the dog. So, and when you're being annoyed by a little Vanguard dog like that, there's nothing more enjoyable than catching that dog and putting it down. And now, I hate myself that I just said that. I hate that there's dogs in this game and you have to talk about putting them down. That's terrible. I'm not going to ever say that one again. Okay. Meanwhile, Shadow Mastiffs, they are shadow pups, so there's nothing that bad about that one. There are some Lancers, though, coming up the main, up the natural ramp here. They killed some Fellhogs, but now they're trying to get some kills on these Imps. They got Brutes there, zoning them away, and one Lancer, was surrounded, but so hard. They're so slippery. Units can be so slippery in this game. And those other Lancers managing to get out the back, but the Fiends, again, Fiends of Theory, what a nice, finally catching them. Oh my goodness. I think he's running the Fiends back and forth, because if those Lancers are able to get a good hit on the Fiends are all going to melt. They do extra damage against them. They do area of effect attack or line attack. And one Skull of Shedda just hoping, can I get you? I think this Lancer's probably got 60 damage. It's not going to die from the Skull of Shedda. Although trying to get away from it nonetheless. I'm invested. And getting all the way to the healing cap. So I'm pretty sure the healing of the camp is going to out-heal any DPS from the infest. Okay, Theory back home, adding a third base here. Interestingly, no one on Therium here. So that means we're pretty much committed to Brutes. Brute. And yeah, we got another Vault. And we did go to Greater Shrine, or we are going to Greater Shrine. And it looks like we had an elf doing some more lumberjack, a imp doing some lumberjack, and now this Brute didn't get the memo. He's like, where are we going? We're going to the base? Oh no. I didn't know we were going in the back door to the base. Oh well. But these Brutes are right up in the Bob line. Now the Bobs put on their invincible shields and turn around and say, I'm going to kill you. I'm going straight for that Hexen. I don't even care about Brutes. we're going straight for Hexens. And the army, the Lancers and the Exos return back, doing a pretty good job of splitting off these forces into two. One Invincible Bob say, don't worry, I got it. I got this all over here. Meanwhile, these other Bobs are just trying to zone these brutes, saying, you're going to die. Because but the brutes all split and try and run out. Only a few fiends there caught back by the Bobs and the Exos. And yeah, maybe a little bit of damage initially done, but otherwise those brutes and fiends were not really able to do much. Running back home. What do we have here? Just a farm. We're just farming out over here. That's just a preventative farm to stop a collection array going down there. And when I say collection array, of course, that's probably not something that Brave's going to put down, given that he is playing Vanguard. They do not build collection arrays. So that's probably there to prevent Expo, of course, but not with a collection array. Now this little biomass is moving out onto the board, and they find these brutes, and nice micro, just chewing some brutes down. And wow, yeah, really well done there to kind of do some serious damage to Theory's little brute force. And Theory's just been committed to brutes. I wonder if someone dared him, like, only use brutes this game. I like it. I like brutes. They're a good unit. They could be better, but I like them. But usually I like to add something a little bit by this time of the game. Now these Lancers and Exos have now killed the farm. And here we go. We got a Stompy Boy coming out. And he says, get out of here. I'm here to trample. And they take out that effigy. And, well, without the trample threat, you still don't really want to fight them. They do some pretty good AoE attack. But, yeah, the Magmadon is kind of good to just push the bio away, but not so good at necessarily chasing it down and dispatching with it. Until you get that speed, of course. Those Raging Tendons upgrade. Looks like there's this Fiends coming through at the back, which is why these units are running back to try and clean this up. A couple Fiends going to hide. They're not going to do much damage if they get back in the base, but they can... of course, go and do some scouting if need be. These Fellhogs still just being Fellhogs. And a couple extra Mags being added. This is an interesting choice. I really think Mags are kind of bait in this matchup. Maybe at my MMR at least, because those Exos can kite them pretty well. And it turns out Lancers are actually pretty good at kiting once they get that kinetic redirect. They just need to take some damage, and then they can run away pretty good. And, okay, so the Mags help clean up this energy camp. The Bio Ball takes over the Vision camp while there's a couple Fiends on the map. Those Fiends out scouting for hidden bases. Theory's up to 4 bases now, and he's got his Fiends up here looking for base. He knows that Brave has not taken his 3rd yet. That's probably why these Fiends are out here saying, is there a 3rd in a hitting location? But not finding any. And now Brave's out on the map trying to get some creep income. And finally we're getting some tier 2 units added to these brutes. We got a nice Hellborn out there, those 3 Mags. And we just had our Elder Shrine pop, and we do have a Shadow Cleft down. Oh, a lot of production going down here at the hidden base, or the pocket base back here. 3 conclaves and 2 vaults. And it's bio for Brave. We've got medtechs being added. Of course, that's sort of the last bit. Maybe you might want to add some Gravens as well. I'm not sure how Gravens work versus Infernal, but I understand they're starting to get play against Celestials. Oh my goodness, there's some Spriggans in the base here. They got on top of the Bob line, and it looks like they managed to get some kills on these Bobs. And are they going to keep chasing down Bobs? Or, yeah, they're going to go for supply depots next. They do a pretty good job. And these are those solar farm supply depots or habitats upgraded, which boost production and upgrades and other things, if I understand correctly. And now these sprigs are just focusing down because there's actually a battle going on at the ramp. The bio force is trying to push up the ramp, but there's just so many brutes there, and they're pushing back the lancers. So some of the lancers go down, and they just said they gotta retreat back because the spriggans in the base now have taken out a couple racks, a couple habitats, and that's getting on top of the production. And actually, Brave isn't sure what needs to get done here. Brave isn't sure if it's go up the ramp or go home, because now the damage done is actually pretty bad. So he's deciding, let's try and go up the ramp, but the trample from the mags, and that's going to be a GG out of Brave. And here we are again in another game from Theory's round robin in the Alpha Navigators Cup last week. That's going to be Theory in the Blue Infernal up against you in the Red Celestial. That's right, it's you, and you is going for a fast collection array and selecting to do it in this one over here. Interestingly, I think that's sort of a little more distant from Theory, and that makes it maybe a little easier to defend. We got a Good Luck Have Fun and a GLGL coming out of the two opponents, and we got a Hexen in the base looking around saying, hey, is there a collection array there? No, there's not. So I know that you haven't expanded there. Now, what do you got going on up here? I don't think he saw the arc ship down there. So now he's like, what are you doing? Did you take that one? No, I like that scouting pattern. I wouldn't know that you could go to that corner and see that there. So good on Theory for knowing that. And really for Theory so far, that is a mystery. That's like, am I getting proxied? He didn't see any prisms on Therium, which means that it's probably not like Seraphim. But there we go. Finally, the Hexen goes and says, "Ah, I get it. Okay, you kind of did a normal build then. I can continue with my play with a vault opening for Theory, and what do we got? Just a farm over here, defensive farm. Interesting that the farm is not being placed at a creep camp, which has been the meta for a while for a lot of players. Instead, just being placed at home defensively. I do that sometimes too. Probably not for the same reason as Theory. It's mostly because I'm forgetful and or lazy. Now, nice micro again. Good Skulls of Shedda to get 3 Fiends out of this. It can be a little bit harder to get all the Fiends for each skull because those Shadow Mastiffs run around. And Theory again doing what we saw him do in a previous one, going straight for the speed camp across the map. Expecting maybe his opponent to be there, but you is going to try and focus the Hexen at first, but now with the Brutes and Fiends on top of the Argents is going to try and, well, really just run away now. That nice Fiend control to body block and keep those Argents away, well, from their arc ship, which is where they're going to get healed up. Only one Fiend going down so far, another Fiend being spawned from that dead Argent. And again, focus fire on the weak Argents. That last Argent getting to the healing camp and Theory deciding to retreat. I think Theory could have taken the Argent out. It's just, you know, once you're in that healing camp, it's a little bit harder. And Theory's like, I really was just coming for the speed camp. You distracted me. My goal here was to take these creeps from you, get a little extra speed juice on me. And oh no, getting caught in the area of effect. That Argent coming out saying, I want to creep too. Can I be part of your team? Although, ooh, and again, more area of effect. So definitely not working out the way that Theory had wanted. And Argent's now moving out in a nice little trio. I'm not sure why they're not together in a little ball, which would reduce surface area. And again, good micro from both of them. You trying to get that Argent away, but Theory focusing on it. That means he's going to lose that Brute, and unfortunately he's not microwing these Fiends. Those Fiends are going to go down. And he's heading over to his health camp, so he's retreated now from the speed camp, basically deciding that was not worth the effort I was putting into it. That initial skirmish chasing the Argents back to the base and getting all those kills, that was really good. But the second one, not quite as favorable for Theory. So he's moved back to his side of the base, his side of the map, and get that healing going. And maybe creep his vision camp next. Let's see. Yeah. Meanwhile, Argent's, well, taking a while to clean up that speed camp. But there are 6 Argents now. And the vision camp now also being taken care of. That one brute moving over there to get the healing cabbage. He was kind of low. Great way to preserve the brute. Again, you get that extra DPS from the fiends because there's 2 of them, and they have slightly less DPS than a brute, a single fiend, but there are 2 of them, so together they almost double the DPS of a brute. But the brute's there also for the tankiness, the hit points. Fiends are great if they're not the ones taking the shots. So that's why you kind of want a little mix. And when there's just fiends there, you want to be focusing them as Argents, but when there's fiends and brutes, it's hard to know exactly what you want to focus on. Because you do that bonus damage against the brutes, but you don't do it against the fiends, but the fiends are the ones that are killing you, so it makes it a hard choice, and that's why I think the brute fiend style is a good way to play against a Argent heavy Celestial. It can be a little bit tedious though, because you're always chasing down those Argents. Those Argents are always sort of kiting you. We got one fiend over here, try and take out a power bank, and having done almost 3/4 of the damage there. Double Therium base. We saw that in an earlier game, in that last game on Titan's Causeway. But no Therium mining at this base yet, and only, it looks like, 4 on this base over here. Again, no mining here either, so interesting choice, Theory. Didn't have to build that base there. You could just mine at any of one of the bases that you currently have. But when you're going brute, you really don't need all that extra Therium, and maybe that's why. And we got a nice Nightfall infestation going down, but then countered by a Purify. And at that point, Theory had already split all his brutes, and I was going to say it looked like that might have been not the right choice. Managing to get a number of good kills on those Argents, so I don't know if that was exactly a fair trade, but at least not missing out. I was going to say, as the Purify goes down, it removed all the infest, and it sort of reduced the damage that was going to come out of that Fiend Surround. So good move on the part of you to get that Purify down. Also, of course, increasing the damage output of the Argents, which allowed them to clean up the Fiends even faster. We have these brutes now capturing the speed camp. This is the 2nd level speed camp. That means it's harder to kill. It also means there's more income. It also means that the speed boost you get is a little bit better. At least that's my understanding. And now the speed is captured, and we see these fiends going across the map. Where are you going? To visit your other fiend, and then what? What you doing? Right on up to the collection array. Alright, pretty good. And what's the reaction? We already got Argents there. Why did they not attack? That was interesting. Oh, it's still resettling down. Okay, interesting. I did not know that. You can't attack it until it's fully settled. Or at least they weren't attacking it, so that's my theory. And surround on this little scout Argent. Little exclamation point on the map. Sure that wasn't a little troll. Like, what are you doing here? Probably just a misclick, because that's pretty easy to misclick some of those emotes. At least I assume it is, because a lot of these high-level players are regularly spamming them by accident. So the Argents have moved up here and pushed back the units from this vision tower. is the double luminite, the double therium is up and running, and those fiends went to scout, but they're just doing a run by up into the main and getting on top of a power bank, but just a nice little force of Argents sent back. I like that. I'm going to send my whole army back. But if you're good, you don't want to necessarily do that. You can do things like this. Creep another camp and take out this vision camp. You only need to send 5 or 6 Argents back to deal with that. However, that does leave some of your units. And again, another Nightfall Infestation followed by a Purify. But these poor Argents, I don't know. I think they probably shouldn't have been fighting. They probably should have been running. Where a single Fiend arrives, you should expect a flow of other units to come behind, because they are just simply the fastest units in the Infernal Arsenal as well as in the game, and so they sort of prophesize the arrival of the slow units. Now we've got Sabers and Argents coming out here to maybe deal with these, and unfortunately having lost those first Argents, the force that could be brought here by you is just not as big. Now, interesting, the Saber first maneuver. Sabers are obviously great DPS, and they're not exactly squishy, but you don't really want them tanking because they're expensive, and you want them sitting in the back, shooting those big old laser blasts or whatever they are. Look at that, blow, blow. And when it hits, you can see it better there. It shoots this sort of horizontal bar, and that's its area of effect. That's the damage that it does. Now, again, a nice Nightfall Infestation. No Purify going down this time. And now we have the Shroud on the whole map. That's just going to be good, but there's just very few units here for Theory. There's a lot of units here for you. And meanwhile, there is Spriggans in the back there doing damage. But Yu's army is somewhat uncontested here. Ooh, I like that Saber saying, get out of the way, trees. A Manifest Shroudstone going down, but that's just going to melt under the Saber Blast, as will this Shrine. It's just about to go. And we have Evolution Catalyst being used on the health camp. So now the health camp is being taken. And those Spriggans are still back in the base doing damage. Taking out Prisms. It looks like they got that collection array and a couple power banks. They are being a pain in the butt, but these Sabers are just moving up the ramp. They're saying, let me destroy your base then. Some Spriggans arriving here, as well as Hellborn, able to do some damage. But those Sabers just actually doing well, kind of tanking for themselves. And moving forward, looks like they might be focused on one of these Hellborns. This Hellborn, not sure where it wants to go. It just wants to be somewhere else. And this Shrine going down. And now, wow, the Natural's kind of just been taken care of. Now, this is a little bit of a base race, because these Spriggans were back home also destroying Yu's base. And they were chased off by some Scythes, it looks like. And now they're going to get on top of these Sabers. They're really good against Sabers. The Sabers are going to start going down. They're actually really good against Argents, too. It's the Scythes here that are kind of good against and the Scythes get a big hit from those Shadow Flyers. The Spriggans are going to take down the Scythes. The Scythes trying to maneuver out, but there's just too many here, and that's a GG out of you. Alright, here we are in the last game in Theory's round robin phase. And this is Theory, actually this is Kel in the red Infernal here. And this is Theory up here in the blue Infernal. Spawning in the top right and going for a Conclave opening, and it looks like that's mirrored by Kel as well. So Conclave versus Conclave, and actually we got double Conclave out of Theory. So Theory doing a little bit of an aggressive play, chopping down the trees, putting another Conclave here, and putting his farm at the speed camp. Meanwhile, Kel also going double Conclave, but his second Conclave is a little bit slower, also chopping down those trees, and also building his farm at the speed camp. A lot of similarities here. Kel did send his Hexen across the map to see what Theory was doing, and I didn't see if he walked past the Conclave here on his way in or not. based on the way the pattern, it looks like he walked around that direction. Not sure if he sees the second conclave, but that you might anticipate it, although a single conclave is also an okay opening, especially if your plan is to open with another shrine or with a expo after that. We got creeping with the help of some fell hogs and some gaunts up here. And a couple fiends coming out. And cleaned up here. Meanwhile, we got 4 gaunts over here for theory. So a couple extra gaunts. Well, of course, the double conclave helps. Or the faster double conclave. And trying to do what he's done on this map almost every time, which is go for the speed camp of the opponent. And, I mean, I like this move. Going straight there and taking out that farm. That farm early game like this is now going to supply block Kel. Which means Kel cannot build units to fight off what's now coming. Getting some good free hits on that. Now is Theory going to continue in? Oh, I like this Theory deciding I'm going in Gaunt first so that you're not just going to melt my fiends. But Kel moving down to where his creeping army is to hopefully... That's the defender's advantage for him right now. But at the same time, 2 Gaunts reinforce for Theory. So we're actually at 6 gaunts, 8 gaunts for Theory versus the 5 gaunts of Kel. And Theory is now in the production on top of these rallied gaunts. 1 gaunt's going to go down, spawning another fiend. We have 2 more gaunts coming out. Now this is kind of a little bit of a surround, but the forces for Theory are, there's just a lot of them. Now, it looks like there's some infest gone down there. Do we have Plague Egg? No, that must have been from a Skull of Shedda, I'm guessing. And good micro. We got both Hexens being taken out. Oh, sorry. Theory's Hexen's still there, hiding in that little gaunt ball there. But the Hexen of Kel was taken out, so that's good for Theory. Good micro on Theory's part. But it's 4 versus 4. And what happened to that Hexen now? Is she hiding again? Did she teleport back? Did she get picked off? Maybe she died. And now it's 6 gaunts pushing down, and that's more than 3 gaunts. And usually that's one of the rules. Now we got 7 gaunts more than 6 gaunts. So following the rules of more stuff better than less stuff. But again, more gaunts pumping out for Kel. Now we're just going to go toe-to-toe, and the concave kind of looked in Theory's favor. Although, no, it's turning out, it's 3 and there's only 1 left. And nice macro at the end to pull back that weak on, keeping it alive. And these, oh, there's the Hexen coming back. So these gaunts finally managed to clean up that pressure from Theory. What do we got over here? Still nothing, no shrines added. We do have that ritual chamber, and Plague X's looks like just started, yes. Now, does Kel have a ritual chamber? Not yet. And what does Kel decide to do? Go take the speed camp. Meanwhile, Theory's taking the health camp. I would say this is a brave gaunt, but it's really just a suicide gaunt. Scout gaunt. So they both sort of retreated back from that pressure for a second. Theory is creeping because his gaunt, but wow, even more gaunts being added, is looking pretty good. Whereas Kel is deciding to not build as many units and go for the expo. Interesting choice, given that his scout gaunt saw that there was no expo for Theory. So there are just 4 gaunts here that are now about to run into a good dozen gaunts. So these gaunts running home. And is there the money to There's enough for, it looks like 2 surges of gaunts. Maybe there are no charges. There should be, because he cut gaunt production. Should be able to produce some more. There's a Summon Shroud Stone. A couple more gaunts summoned in the back. That kind of forces Theory to go back. A miss on the Nightfall Infestation. More Theory Gaunts arriving. And those Gaunts now turning to focus on the Shrine. This will give Kel time to reinforce, but of course Kel doesn't want to lose that investment that he put on that Shrine. That was what the trade-off was for, and that could lose him the game. So he does want to defend it. Unfortunately, his Gaunt count is... And Plague Axes is now up for Theory. I don't think we even have a Ritual... Oh, there is a Ritual Chamber. Plague Axes is not yet done. And that Shrine's going to go down. Theory's Ball of Gaunts is just looking very intimidating now. And he's just soaking up that Shroud Skin, or what's he doing there? He's going to try and creep from the high ground, the speed camp. This is really just sort of a contain strategy, although now he pushes up the ramp, gets on top of those Gaunts, and oh no, those Gaunts, they look like they were firing on their own units there for a second. There might have been a misclick. But they do push back Theory's Gaunts. The Shroud Stone was enough. Get a little extra damage. We see the Hexen going down. But it's Plague Axes versus... well, Plague Axes versus Plague Axes now. But unfortunately, Theory's Plague Axes was just soon enough to get those Fiends. And that's the GG out of